today I wanted to talk about a very interesting topic, especially because I love cinema and I love movies, and this topic is actually not partly, it's just completely about movies. And the topic is the rise and fall of Gothic cinema. I think that it is a really current topic because we can see Gothic features in a lot of current movies and I care about it, so I hope you'll enjoy it because I definitely enjoy researching it. I personally would describe Gothic cinema as a place where kind of like haunting beauty meets existential dread, I think. And it all comes from the shadows of German literature, which is cool. From German expressionism. From literature, it led to being on the screen. But how did this aesthetically pleasing cinematography filled with castles, tragic figures, and moonlit despair fade into obscurity? Because let's say it throughout the years it was obscure at some points. And more importantly, why does it keep coming back? We'll get into that today. So let's start. We're gonna first talk about the birth of Gothic cinema, the complete start, okay? And before there were movies, there were books, Gothic books. They were dark and gloomy tales of horror, usually romantic horror. The Gothic genre started with books, with literature, like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. That's like a big thing, big book, big classic. Then Dracula, and let's not forget about Edgar Allan Poe. I love his work, poetry, and his series of tales. I think that his writing is really unique and I love it. And it's a big staple for Gothic cinema and literature. I think that is a big part of it. So yeah, when cinema started emerging, then it was only natural and expected for these stories to come to the screen, creating melancholic worlds and stories that would soon become classics for many people, I think. Enter German Expressionism, a movement that shaped the early Gothic cinema. Films like Nosferatu, 1922, and The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, I think that's the way to pronounce it, in 1920, used overly done shadows. Not in a bad way though, but yeah, shadows. And unsettling camera angles to create this dreamlike, nightmarish landscapes. This would set the standard up for and lay the foundation for the upcoming Gothic cinema. Now we can move into the golden age of Gothic cinema, the 1930s and 1940s. These were considered the time when Gothic cinema emerged and thrived the most. Universal Pictures created a sort of horror empire which brought life to the most iconic Gothic figures like Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the Mummy. That's the way to Mummy.
Mummy.
Okay, the Mummy. These films weren't just about horror, but about the atmosphere that it left people with. We're talking tragic anti-heroes and the clash between the supernatural and the human, from my own perspective. Yeah, directors like Alfred Hitchcock brought Gothic elements into psychological thrillers. And let me say, I love psychological thrillers. I haven't watched that many. I need to watch more. I need to watch more older ones, like the OGs. But I love psychological thrillers. I don't really love horrors, as in like gory. I don't know, it's not my thing, but I do enjoy thrillers from time to time. Rebecca 1940 radiated gothic suspense, which only proved that a film didn't need a monster to feel haunted. Then in the 1950s and 60s, a Hammer horror revived the genre with lavish color, dramatic performance, what? Dramatic performances. That's it. And empathizing on sensuality. Think Christopher Lee's Bloody Dracula. But unfortunately, then came the decline of Gothic cinema. But simultaneously, a rise of modern horror. By the late 60s, the Gothic experience started to feel like outdated. And audiences craved realism and something more grounded. Not exactly to relate to it, but kind of feel more connected to it. So in this time, the psychological horrors and slashers came in. Films like Psycho 1960s and The Exorcist 1973 abandoned castles for handheld cameras. But then came in the slasher boom. Halloween 1978 and Friday the 13th 1980. These were the films that preferred raw brutality over gothic romance and that kind of suspense. Eventually, Gothic cinema faded into the background. It never truly died, but it faded. But worry no more, because then came the revival. When something falls, it eventually comes back. And it came stronger than ever, okay? It could never truly die, I think, because I think people crave the haunting feeling of Gothic cinema and Gothic books. In the 90s and 2000s, directors like my own personal favorite, Tim Burton, the directors of that time, infused the scene with surreal and kind of quirky twist. Let's think of Edward Scissorhands 1990 or Sleepy Hollow 1999, both from Tim Burton. Both are amazing. Definitely recommend those. Then in the 2010s, we got Crimson Peak 2015, which was sort of a love letter to Gothic cinema and Gothic storytelling. Today, we are offered A24 films like The Green Knight in 2021, which borrows from the Gothic aesthetic and madness and isolation and fate. And may I mention the director who I think, in my opinion, comes in with really good Gothic cinema, Robert Eggers. He serves amazing Gothic filmography like The Lighthouse in 2019 or the recent Nosferatu 2024. Definitely recommend that. I've watched it, it's really good. And the performances from, I don't know, Lily Rose Depp and Bill Skarsgård, yeah, and everyone else, Willem Dafoe, everyone served us amazing acting. In my opinion, I'm not an expert, so I cannot really judge, but the Gothic is no longer confined to horror. It has emerged with psychological drama and fantasy and historical storytelling, proving that the genre is far from being over, which is great for those who enjoy Gothic storytelling and that suspense atmosphere. So now, why does the Gothic cinema keep on returning? I need to take a sip. Today I have only water, so no coffee for me. I think that we deeply crave the haunting beauty of darkness, and we all, I think, have kind of the pull towards tragic. Actually, not all of us, okay? Some people really enjoy comedy instead of this. I also enjoy comedy at times, but I probably would choose gothic, dark cinema over comedy. Okay, that's just like a insert here. I don't know why I said it. I think many people crave the comfort of the ghostly figures and this sinister atmosphere. Gothic cinema speaks to universal fears. The fear of the unknown, the fear of dark, I think too. The fear of the fragility of human sanity, because usually the people in these films go mad, which is really nice to see. I don't know why it's nice to see, but it is nice to see. Or the ghosts of our past. I think that it reminds us that horror can be beautiful and that tragedy can be poetic and that even in darkness there is beauty and artistry, which ties me to the topic that I talked about in my previous video, that we romanticize sadness. So this is kind of the opposite, but I said to enjoy these films but not get lost in it. So yeah. Lastly, where does Gothic cinema go from here? Well, with the rise of digital filmmaking, Gothic aesthetics can be now explored in entirely new ways, which opens a whole lot of doors for new opportunities. So we'll see where this leads. I'm pretty excited for it. And I think they could bring a new renaissance for the genre. And as long as filmmakers remain drawn to the shadows and the haunting Gothic vibe, Gothic cinema will continue to evolve and haunt us once more. Like the ghosts of it. That was cliche. Yeah, but I'm counting on Eggers. I think he will bring us more Gothic haunting filmography. That's all from me today. So thank you for hanging out. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see ya.